Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Ken. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Ken here. I want to talk about a few things that nobody's really talking about much anymore. And there really hasn't been any much excitement on these three things I'm going to talk about today. And I think that these are actually the most perfect time to really start talking about them. And it's the most perfect time for me to start reaccumulating. The first one I'm going to talk about is Dogecoin. What you're really seeing in Dogecoin is quite remarkable. It's just made a higher high over here compared to back in November, December 2022. And so far, it's looking a very, very nice higher low over here with very, very nice wick underneath with great demand. All it really looks like so far is just doing what is necessary for it to normally do. Again, this is a monthly chart, right? You can see that on the monthly chart, there are a couple of wicks over here that we're just kind of back testing. And this also is a pretty important horizontal zone over here, which is basically broke out about this range over here and back tested as support. And so far, support looks like it's holding despite the fact that it really has been wicking underneath of that. And overall, it just looks like a very, very nice Adam and Eve pattern with Doge during this bear market cycle over here. And in general, Doge formed these kinds of Adam and Eve pretty much every cycle. So far, there's really been about three cycles, and every single cycle it does this. It does like an Adam and Eve, and it just breaks out. And even the previous cycle over here, when there really isn't that much price history, when things are really volatile, you can also see there's a little bit of Adam and Eve over here. So that basically has been doing the same thing for about three cycles here. The only difference between this cycle and the last two cycles is that the previous cycles didn't really have any of the back test that we're currently experiencing. So this cycle is a little bit different compared to the other two. But if you also put in some of the indicators over here too, which is including the Bollinger Band, you have the 20-month moving average, which is represented by the orange line over here. And whenever you have the 20-month moving average really starting to curl up and starting to serve a little bit as support over here, it tends to push the price up pretty high during the bull market. Now, this hasn't happened yet for Doge. You can argue that this was the excitement, but honestly, it might just be a little bit of a start here because the Bollinger Band hasn't really been that expanded, so we really weren't able to push price up that much further. You can also argue that this over here, during the cycle here, this was the wick that kind of helped set things up here a little bit and make people a little bit more bullish because this wick over here technically is a little bit higher high than this wick over here, right? But so far, you got a rising 20-month moving average, and you got a very, very nice back test. And this back test is actually happening on pretty, drastically declining volume. So I do think that this is non-committal selling. I think that whenever this is over, it's going to end up pushing up a lot higher, especially when there's some pretty decent support here. You have a very nice Bollinger Band squeeze here before every single cycle. You have a nice Bollinger Band squeeze over here, and these cycles over here. And I think right now we're kind of equivalent maybe to this area over here, maybe equivalent to maybe this area over here where it went just way far, way too fast, and then it can come back and kind of back test on the level underneath. And I think that that's kind of where we are at the current cycle. And if you are also looking at like a 2 week chart, if you look at the Ichimoku, the structure is just a little tiny bit different from the last cycle, but the last cycle you have a little bit of a hard time breaking inside the 2 week Ichimoku cloud. Whenever it ended up breaking inside, it just went berserk, right? Over here, there's a little bit of a different story. We went inside the Ichimoku, and it kind of went sideways here and went down to back test the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud. So far, it looks like it's holding. Now, don't get me wrong, we still have some resistance up here around like 12.5, somewhere around there, and also like around 14, somewhere around there, 14 cents, 12.5 cents. Don't get me wrong, right? But because the fact that we've just been going down on like non-committal volume, I don't think that these resistance are going to be that big of a deal. I'd like to see price going back to about 20 cents and break through the cloud, or maybe even just go sideways and kind of go up here over the next few months or so. But I do think that Doge is getting more and more ready to run because simply the market structure looks very, very similar to the last cycle. And also that it's just made a higher high, and now it looks like it's just made a very important higher low on not much volume on the back test. So it does look like this is a pretty, bullish market structure. Now, if you ask me, okay, great, that's great. So there could be some gains to be had. Are we going to talk about price going from like 0.2 cents all the way to like 70 cents? Are you talking about that kind of move? No, I'm not talking about that kind of move at all. I do not expect that. I don't think anybody really should expect that. I think last cycle is a little bit of an anomaly. Because if you're talking about from the cycle high over here to the cycle low over here, usually you usually expect a cycle for like an altcoin that's very volatile. I can expect it to potentially hit like 1.618 and 2.618, but Doge has really kind of just exceed our expectation, pushed through, and it initially got rejected here at the 3.1618, and it formed a nice bull flag here, and it just went on higher, right? I don't really anticipate Doge to be able to do this cycle. What I'm really thinking, whenever this thing really starts to run, if I do a Fibonacci sequence here from the cycle high to the cycle low roughly, it's not going to be exact, I think that 1.618 and 2.618 is not unreasonable. So I think $1.2 or like close to $2 for Doge is not impossible, just because price has consolidated sideways for so long. When you talk about like really like 3 years of sideways consolidation here, and you just made a higher, higher, higher low, like the next logical move is going to push up, right? And if you ask me when is the next resistance going to be, I think a lot of people are going to probably start taking profit around like the 40 cents to 50-cent range. I think they might end up taking profit even before that. But I'm still relatively bullish on Dogecoin. I've been buying down here, and I've been buying over here, and I've been buying over here too. And whenever things went down underneath this wick over here, underneath 10 cents, I was buying more. I anticipate this to go up. That's the reason why I buy. I mean, if I think it's going to go down, why would I buy, right? But I think that this is a pretty decent setup for Dogecoin, and I am still trying to accumulate. I think I probably end up keep buying whenever price is below like the 0.136, around like 14 cents or so. I think I'll probably still keep accumulating around this range. But then whenever things really break the 0.136, especially if it breaks it for good, then I'll stop buying. It would just kind of monitor to see how far things go. I mean, honestly, like there's no guarantee of any of these things going to work out. It's all more or less, kind of speculation, right? But I think the risk reward based on technical analysis for Dogecoin looks pretty good. I got to say, in addition to all that, Dogecoin is just very, very much cycle dependent, and I do think that the timing of it is right. On top of that, I also want to point out one thing here too, which is that in April 2021 you have this big giant green candle, right? And then subsequently you have close to about 40 something candles after that. All 40 candles are all their bodies are engulfed by this big giant green candle over here back in April 2021. So if you think about it this way, like the market structure is basically saying all of these are inside candles. So what does it mean? Well, it means that the next move is probably going to be some trend continuation after consolidation. What is the primary trend? The primary trend is up, right? Higher highs, higher lows, right? So I think the next move is going to be up. That's also another reason as to why I think that to be the case. I mean, again, it doesn't always have to work out, but I just have a hard time, basically justifying that it's going to be more bearish than bullish. I think the probability is good. Another stock that is in a very, very similar vein is also a meme stock, just like Dogecoin. It's like the original meme coin, is GameStop. Now, I am bullish on GameStop. I don't have a position in GameStop, but it's basically going through a very, very similar phenomenon where you have a big giant candle here in January 2021 and you have 40 some candles that's basically engulfed within it. And this big giant candle for January 2021 is the higher high for the entire history of the stock, right? And right now you just have made a higher low over here back in April of this year. And basically just kind of back test this level here. If anything, I want to kind of like show you, it looks like it was just kind of back testing like a diagonal line over here, and it looks like it passed, and next thing you know, things bounced very, very hard. But regardless, this is all inside candles for this big giant green candle over here. So the primary trend, whenever this is ready to go, is going to be up, right, probability speaking. I also want to look a little bit closer in terms of what's happening here. If you look at one of my favorite indicators, the Bollinger Band, which shows you the 20-month moving average. The 20-month moving average is finally turning flat to up, right? And we back tested the 20-month moving average almost perfectly. Now, I don't know about you, but I take the 20-month moving average relatively seriously. If things are just underneath the 20, if they're unable to kind of break above the 20, I generally get a little bit, not as bullish on it. But it's basically just broke back above and kind of back tested the 20 here almost perfectly, kind of like it did over here. The thing is, the 20-month moving average is also turning flat and also pointing slightly up. So all of these are very, very strong indicator to tell me probability-wise that you're going to probably having a pretty decent run for GameStop. I know it's kind of silly for me to kind of think about it. I'm just basically talking about the probability game here. Ichimoku, things are kind of underneath the tank in the kitchen. You have a cross over here. But I like to see, hopefully, it kind of breaks back above and then challenge the cloud. I don't think it's going to end up shooting within a period of like 6-7 months, kind of like it did over here. I think this cycle is just a lot slower. It probably end up challenging the cloud over here. It probably have some resistance here again, like it did over here. And it's probably going to need some time to try and break back above the Tenkin, which is around 37.4. And it's probably going to have some challenging problems getting to the 40s and 60 range up here, because the clouds right above is going to be resistance. But I just think that this is still a very, very bullish market structure. And I'm still bullish on it. If you look at the weeklies, it also did something that's pretty remarkable. First of all, it bounced off the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly here, find support where it needed support, and bounced very, very well. The second thing is, if you are looking at the boomer support band, you can see how the boomer support band is more or less resistance over here and over here, right? Well, it just flipped it back into support. It broke back above, it's positive pointing, and it just flipped it from resistance over here to support, right? I cannot really be that bearish on GME because of that, whenever you have something that's breaking resistance and turning into support. The same thing too, if you just look at the like the horizontal level here, if I can draw this horizontal zone over here, and it looks like it's been a very important zone for a very long time. Service support here once, twice, broke down underneath of it, and it broke back above of it, But this horizontal zone over here, I think, means something, and I would almost say that this zone almost extends down to here, So you basically have a back test of this zone that after you break back above and you're using as support. I have a hard time really being that bearish on GME right here around these levels. I don't know when it's going to start running, but I think it's going to be whenever it starts running. I think people are going to start talking about it again. When nobody's talking about it right now. Nobody's talking about it right now, which actually makes it a lot more exciting for me. The daily chart, why did I look at the daily chart? I also see some correlate. Initially, I thought it was squeezing. You have like a candle this way about the upper Bollinger Band. Initially, I thought that, hey, this might be the move. Nope, ended up not being, right? Ended up going all the way down here, push through underneath the lower Bollinger Band here. On the day when you had the VIX going like greater than 60, when you had the carry trade for Japanese yen, like you have basically all the fears that you have on that day, and it didn't even close underneath the lower Bollinger Band. It just ended up going back up through. And right now, I actually see a lot of correlate. Like the Bollinger Band squeeze is happening again. It's squeezing very, very tight. You have the move up here initially. You have like a little bit of a fake move up, and you have having a move down, right? Kind of like it did there, a little bit of fake move up after you have a little bit of a Bollinger Band tightening. And then it goes down, right? And then now you're trying to go back up and challenge the 20-day moving average and reclaiming it from resistance to support, which is what we're having over here. And during this process, it's still squeezing pretty hard. This price didn't really do anything for a very long time. And right here, you also had a Bollinger Band squeeze over here. This price just didn't really do anything for a very long time. I think it's getting to the point where a bigger move, and I think it's going to lean more bullish, a bigger move is going to happen. I don't know when it's going to be. That's the thing about Bollinger Band. I'm going to try and do a lecture here for Bollinger Band here a little bit. But yeah, you don't know when it's going to be, but I just feel very positive about it, that it's probably going to be going up based on all the things I just told you in terms of what I was thinking. Those are my thoughts for GME. Now, I guess I can talk about AMC too while I'm at it. The real quick thing about AMC is that the market structure is not as bullish as GME. Just look at it. It's just been forming lower highs and lower lows. And it's just been kind of a very, very vicious downtrend, right? Now, you might say, yes, you have a little bit of like a diamond formation here. It could reverse, and when it does, it can be a very, very quick reversal. But the whole point about AMC is that it just doesn't have that bullish market structure here for long term. So if you enter it, I think it's important to be cautious more on this chart. The couple of things too that I've shown here, like the Bollinger Band for GameStop is actually looking like it's using 20-month as support, right? AMC is still way underneath the 20. Now, there are two ways you gotta think about it. One way is there's actually plenty of room from here on out, right? Whenever the 20-month moving average is gonna end up going down, it's probably gonna keep going down, right? But whenever it ends up going to meet the 20, that's a lot of gains, away from the resistance. So you're just way too far away from the resistance zone over here. Kind of like how you're a little bit way too far away from the resistance zone over here. Eventually, it's going to push above, right? I don't know if you're going to get this like January 2021 candle like it did over here, but I do think that whenever it happens, there's still potentially a lot of gains to be made. But I'm just not sure on the longer term trend. Like it just doesn't look nearly as bullish as GME, right? The couple other things too. Same thing Ichimoku. Right now, you got the Ichimoku resistance around like $7. So I can potentially see going up 40%, hit resistance there around 7, and that's going to be some pretty strong resistance there. But but that's still a lot to gains to make potentially if you're a trader. A couple other things there. Look at the weekly chart. It's doing very very similar thing as GME in the sense that if you look at the Bollinger support band, it did try to flip the Bollinger support band from resistance to support, although it's not that classic of a bounce. Not like GME, it really is like very very nice bounce, right? And it's really positive pointing. It's just flat. And whenever it's flat like there is still some risk for it to kind of break down underneath, and go up, before really flipping the Bollinger support band from negative sloping to flat to positive pointing, right? So this still might have a little bit more volatility. I don't trust AMC as much, but it still looks like it wants to do a very, very similar thing. If you look at the daily chart here, if you look at the Bollinger Band, it's also squeezing very, 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 very tight. It's done nothing ever since this big retracement of the big giant move over here. Like it's done absolutely nothing for like months. And this is a daily chart, and Bollinger Band just keeps on squeezing harder and harder and harder. So a bigger move's gonna come. It might be down first and up, or it could just end up going up. I do not know, but exciting times coming for AMC. All I gotta say is I see that if the Bollinger Band is squeezing this tight, it might have a hard time to kind of break through all at one point. And I do think that $7 is going to be a pretty strong resistance. Looking at the weekly chart here, looking at Bollinger Band, you also have the 20-week moving average is pointing up, right? So that's a little bit more promising. Now, the upper Bollinger Band is around like 6.1 or so. I think that's going to be resistance here. And you also have the weekly cloud above around like $6. So I would say the next resistance level is going to be around $6 and $7, right? Because $6 is going to be the cloud, $6 is going to be the upper Bollinger Band, and $7 is going to be the kitchen over here on the weekly, as well as the Tenkan over here on the monthly. So that's still a lot of gains to be made, but there's a potential for it to go down first before going up. Just so you know, those are my thoughts. If you're asking me about like how far it could potentially go down, I can say on the weekly over here, if it ends up going back down and test the 20-week moving average, should be around like 4.4. I don't think it's going to go all the way down to the lower Bollinger Band again. But it could potentially come down and back test some of the stuff underneath. So that's, in a nutshell, that's Doge, that's GME, and that's AMC. I'm in Doge, I'm not in GME, I'm not in AMC, but if I had to pick between GME and AMC, I'd probably end up picking GME. I do want to say I do have a YouTube channel that I am starting to make a lot more of these like lecture series. I made a video on Ichimoku Cloud, made a video on how to catch a falling knife. I would like to today, if I have time, to make a video on another topic, which is the Bollinger Bands. So these are members only videos, and if you enjoy what I talk about, if you want to find out more about my thinking process, you can join the channel. Unfortunately, they only let you join on like Chrome or on Android. Like it's not available on Apple iOS, unfortunately, but that's okay. Another thing I want to say is that if you want to join, not join, but you want to subscribe to the Triumvirate channel, I do these weekly Tuesday evening, sometimes Saturday evening live streams with the guys. I do it with the great Matsby, who has some really wonderful videos and really wonderful thinking, as well as the Tesla Tracker. Like we do this, and we take chart requests and everything. So join us there, and we're gonna have fun. That's all I gotta say, and I hope you enjoy this video. Take care, have a good one, bye.